So next up, we have Heyun and Balthazar from Inner Space VR. And while they're coming up and setting up their machine, I wanted to thank a couple of people. I want to thank Richard, our AV guy. And give a shout out to Richard. And I want to thank Josh Carpenter from Mozilla, and of course everyone from Mozilla for hosting us. And finally, I want to thank my lovely wife, who is the woman manning the door. Thank you, Selena. You guys ready? Okay. So other housekeeping stuff to talk about. Okay, this is a good one. So after Heyun and Balthazar do their presentation, we'll have an opportunity for people to give quick community announcements. So while they're giving their presentation, you can think about what you want to come up to the front and tell everyone about. What else to talk about? This is such a one-sided conversation. You guys need to help me out. Future meetings. Yeah, so I've got actually an announcement about future meetings that I'm going to give at the end. I'm going to let it be a little surprise, but there will be future meetings. They are going to happen. That was a good one. Anybody else have anything they want to talk to me about?
Ça, tu le déplaces à droite. Ça, tu le... Attends. Ça, tu le mets là. Yeah. Attends. Yeah. Et toi... No, not good. Parce qu'en fait, nous...
So we're always... oh, I know what I need to do. I need to thank our sponsors. That's what you're supposed to do when you're a good host. So we've got two amazing sponsors for this event. Little Star, they're over there if you haven't already checked them out. They're a VR video distribution play. Very, very cool stuff and very nice people. They bought the food that you're eating, so thank them. The other people that bought you beer and food are the ODG group. They are in the back room over there. They've got an amazing headset that you guys have to check out. It's a really cool AR play. And I'm very excited to talk with them, and you should talk to them too, about how we might be able to use their technology to tell stories. You know, I think a lot of us have been working pretty much exclusively in VR for storytelling, but how could it work with AR? And I'm sure people will figure that out, and they've probably thought about it, so you should talk to them about it. You guys ready? Okay, cool. All right, another round of applause.
So we are not that fluent in English, so please excuse my French in advance. Okay, so here's Inner Space. I'm Balthazar. There's Ayun. So we are here for to present our ongoing project, which is DMZ. But first, I will make a quick intro about what's Inner Space. So we are a software company focused on creating narrative-driven content for VR. Yeah. Okay. We are based in Korea. But the team is French, so and we are here to present the project, so it's kind of exotic. But we are all virtual, and that's where we're meeting us, everyone. So we made several projects which are already available on the Samsung Gear VR. Unfortunately, it's exclusively available on the Gear because we made, and it's good for us because we could make a deal with them.
Balthazar, can I hold you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I forgot one thing that was really important announcement is that we have like a zero talking policy while people are giving presentations. So if you see somebody talking, just politely ask them to shut up, and then if they don't, come talk to me. People put a lot of energy into
I can
presentation.
scream also.
Yeah, there you go. Please continue.
if I hear any sound. Okay. So that's the three projects we've made. The Cave and the Fifth Leap are actually 360 videos, which you can see on the Oculus 360 video app on the gear. And Played is more a game, interactive experience. It's a musical experience, actually, made with Unity. The two other ones, the Cave and the Fifth Leap, are highly detailed graphic experiences. I don't want to say photorealistic because it's a debate, but it's more detailed, and that's why, because it has to be run on mobile, we had to port it and create a video of the experiences, which before were real-time experiences. So now we are here to present the DMZ. What I wanted to tell or to say also is we are all of our efforts are exploring all the possibilities of the medium itself, especially on the storytelling aspects. For now, we only made stuff that is fictional, but DMZ is our first attempt to create a documentary project. And we think in VR and with CG pictures and stuff, it's a very interesting challenge we want to confront. So I will let Ayun speak of it and present the project. And she is the director and also CEO of the company. So badass. Please.
I apologize for my English, so if you don't understand, just tell me. So I was born in South Korea, so North Korea was always a forbidden zone for me, so I was very interested in the fictional dimension of North Korea, especially when I discovered a book of Kim Jong-il. He wrote a book on the cinema and directing, so he government his country just like directing the film and film like a government of a country, so it was very interesting. So I want to make some introduction of DMZ. I don't know if you have heard about this. This is the frontier between two Korea. It's about 4 kilometers wide, and it's created in the end of the Korean War, 1953. So it's over than 60 years. It was closed. So there is so many nature take his own place, and this is DMZ means the militarized zone. But contradictorily, in his name, it's the most militarized zone in the world, and there is so many mines, and it's the most mine in the world. So. This is image of Panmunjom, just like a frontier between two Korea. And there is always the soldier of North Korea and the South Korea look at each other. So I want to, I don't know, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Non, bah alors ce moment-là.
Okay.
Fais échappe une seconde. Après, je sais pas comment on fait plein écran.
Okay.
Bon. Anyway. Okay.
So, before 2010, I made a live-action documentary, but I need something more than reality, so I turned in the animation. And this work, just before I made before this project, DMZ, it's about a propaganda village from North Korea. It's an empty village made by North Korea just only for show to the South Korea. South Korean. So I asked for 2 years the authorization to shoot them and to shoot this place, but I didn't have authorization, so I made some sculpture to make a fictional trip inside. So when I discovered, tu peux mettre, s'il te plaît?
Tu veux remettre la présentation?
Ouais.
Hop. Ok.
So, c'est bon.
Plein écran. Hop. Sorry.
I'm sorry. So in this time, for the first time, I made a project on the DMZ. Last years, I made a interview with a soldier who worked on the borderline, and on his testimony, we made all the environment in CG graphic that I imagined. So it was very important for me to use virtual reality to make this project because 360 video was remove the screen boundary. For me, symbolically, it's very important to talk about a boundary between Korea, and virtual reality was for me some kind of medium to make a project to show the challenge to my political situation, because it allow me to get there where is a forbidden zone for me. And I think personally, for talk about personal memory, VR is a very matched medium because it make intimate experience for one people. So that's why I chose it's virtual reality. And just a screenshot of DMZ. So yes. You can make a demo if you want to. We are here, so if you have some question.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, give a big round of applause. Beautiful work. Is this the first time that you're going to screen DMZ for an audience?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll count that as a world premiere. I think that's special. They're going to be demoing their work in that space right back there. It is a very inner space. It's appropriate. We do have time for questions too, so raise them up high if you've got a question.
Yeah, I will just put a 360 like a capture of the environment for the people who won't be able to make the demo, just to see what it.
Do you want that to run in the background while people ask you questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions. Come on, people. Question. Okay, back there. Holler it out.
Usually, we would enter the DMZ at sunset.
Yeah, it would be frustrating. So yeah, this is CryEngine. As maybe some of you know, CryEngine has jumped into VR recently. But we worked with this engine a long time before, back in 2010, and we kind of hacked the engine to create a 360 rig. And yeah, actually we used the video stitching software, but with real-time software data. So it's.
Next question. That was a good one. You know, obvious, but good.
Yeah. Do you find simulation sickness to be a problem in your audience?
The fact that most of our content uses motion instead of what most content in VR is right now, which is mostly static. But it was, from the beginning, one of our goals to try to create experiences where you escape in different kind of ways, but especially through motion. And we tried to design the experience to avoid the motion sickness. It's a debate in itself, but the fact that mostly you go forward, so you don't have because it's going straight forward most of the time. You don't feel a sickness even if there's accelerations, and most of the time it's also open landscapes. So you have a very clear view of all around. And you don't feel the lack of positional tracking because you're in a giant landscape. So that's several tips we use to avoid motion sickness, even if there is a lot of motion.
Great question. What's up next? Right there.
How many people worked on your project?
This one or in general?
This one.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, it's 5 people mostly.
Until now, it's more than 5 months, but we not finished it. We need 2 months more.
Yeah, it's still an ongoing project. It's not really. It's not really
quite a world premiere. They took it away
for next event.
Okay, good. So what's missing? What are we going to see tonight that is different from what you want it to be when it's finished?
So yeah, it's an extracted part of the whole thing. We especially need to work on the English version. So what you will hear is it's an English voiceover, but it's not the final one. And we still have some editing and some other stuff to make. But it's mostly done. But we need to polish it. And yeah, and if someone knows Sean Penn here, please come to see us because we need his voice for our project.
He is actually a member. He just couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah. So please give me his number.
All right, we have time for one more question. I'll let you guys pick it as a change. Who do you want to answer from?
So I saw like this kind of bright spotlight kind of coming together with the camera.
Yeah.
Is it supposed to guide like viewers like attention kind of thing? Is like what's the intention of doing? I can speak in Korean too.
Yeah, speak in Korean.
It's the reconstruction of his personal memory when he worked on the borderline. So I made this scene from his description.
Yeah, it was not the
I'm sorry.
You can speak in Korean, please.
그 보면 이렇게 스팟라이트이
예.
이렇게 카메라랑 같이 따라가잖아요.
예.
그러면은 아까 말씀하셨을 때 이렇게 다큐멘터리나 이런 그런 데서 이렇게 새로운 스토리텔링에 대해서
예.
계속 연구를 하는데 혹시 그러면 이게 라이팅이
예.
그런 걸 사람들에게
아.
해서 이렇게
예. Yes,
But
yes.
in English.
It was very interesting, this kind of experience, because it was the first experience for 360 video. So when I directed the normal documentary, it's easy because you shoot what you want to show. But this kind of video is you can look all around, so you need to guide the viewer where you see, where you look. So the writing was description from his testimony of soldier, but it make attire the attention of viewer too. So it was symbolically important in this kind of experience.
All right, big round of applause. So, lightning round of community announcements. If you've got one, jump up here right now. Who's got one? These are just quick 10, 15, 30 minutes. Yeah, here we go.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I started a project called Adventure Blogger, which is adventure VR blogging. As a corollary to that, I've started a new meetup. Our first meeting is on April 7th at Tech Shop here in San Francisco. It's going to be focused on user-generated VR content and, again, focused on individuals who are out there creating stuff. And I really think of that as a DIY project because a lot of the stuff we need right now isn't available. So I'm really trying to line up speakers who will speak to that DIY aspect of trying to be a virtual reality blogger. So that's the Vlogging Lab, and our first meeting is on April 7th.
Here, I'll
I got one.
I'm gonna do it in
Yeah.
parallel.
Yeah, hi, I'm Guy with Mind VR, and anybody who would like to be interested in actually having hands-on experience, I'm making 360, 3D, full VR stuff. We're doing it Mind VR. You just come, I'll give you my card.
Live action or CG?
Both. Okay.
Hi, my name is Juan. I'm part of the SIGGRAPH 2015 Games, Mobile, and Production Sessions team. If you guys don't know SIGGRAPH, it's the Computer Graphics Conference. It's Computer Graphics and Interactive Techniques Conference. Going to be in LA, August 10 to 14. I am also involved with the AR/VR track, and we're looking for submissions and curation for our VR Village, which is a day-long showcase for VR and AR content. So if you guys are interested, feel free to talk to me after. Thank you.
Great. Any other announcements? Okay, here we go. If you've got them, come get me.
Hey, I'm Dan. I'm a UC Berkeley student, and I'm helping recruit and organize for an event in Shenzhen, China for this May. The event is a sort of creativity summit, and it was initially aimed at the sort of maker crowd, but after seeing some VR stuff, I think VR is super exciting too. So if there's anyone who would be interested in going to Shenzhen this May, May 23rd to 26th, and showing off their awesome VR creations, that would be awesome. So come talk to me about that.
Hello, I'm Chris Platts. I'm a professor of game design at CCA, California College of the Arts, and I'm working with Stanford's Laptop Orchestra. We're going to have a concert May 9th, and the entire Laptop Orchestra concert will be in using the Oculus and the Leap Motion, so all the instruments will be played live using procedural audio, along with projecting the world for the audience inside of the concert hall. So if you're interested in seeing that sort of thing, come see me.
Hey, I'm Matt from Little Star. We are a distribution platform, so if you're shooting VR or 360, come over and we can help you get it on mobile, Oculus, Gear VR, cross-platform. So come check us out over there in the corner.
Sponsor. You have to clap after the sponsor.
Hi, my name is Darren. I'm directing live action and, well, it's live action placed in an Unreal Engine environment. And so I'm looking for a dev who can help me with the coding aspect so that we can run live action footage more easily. Thanks.
Hi guys, I'm Josh from Mozilla. I'm one of the UX leads here for bringing the web to virtual reality. We're really excited by video on the web, and that's a big part of the reason we use the web today. And we're really excited by the collaborative potential of virtual reality. So I'm abusing my host's prerogative here to say that if you're working in kind of the live VR video and collaborative spaces or facilitating the production of that stuff, come find me, because I think there's an opportunity to kind of tell some pretty cool stories to the world about why this is going to be badass together. So just magnetize yourself to me and come give me business cards, please. Okay, and thank you for coming. This is awesome.
All right. Thank you, Josh. So our next speaker is Michael, and he's worked on a really amazing piece. He actually was just a member who reached out to me, and I went to his apartment in Berkeley, and he showed me this, and it's one of the most exciting things I'd seen in a long time. So very excited to have him here. He's got demo stations back there by Inner Space. You should definitely check it out.
Thank you. My name is Michael. I am here to talk about my visual music animation, Bright Shadows. It was originally done for my master's thesis for an immersive theater, which is essentially just a theater or a screen that wraps around your peripheral view. But I adapted it to VR, and I'm really excited about it, and I hope you guys like it. I'm going to talk your ears off about it. Okay, so Bright Shadows is part of a long tradition of a type of visual art called visual music. And really that's just a blanket term for visual art that aspires to the purity and self-sufficiency of music. Or it aspires to musical analogy, mostly. And what we typically think of when we talk about visual music are things like music videos, concert visuals, like light shows. Fantasia is a popular visual music example. But it also applies to other kinds of art forms like painting and photography. And that's actually where it all came out of. In the late 1800s, a lot of art critics and art theorists really rallied around this idea that music is a kind of pure medium. That visual art should aspire to the purity and self-sufficiency of music. And specifically what they were talking about was absolute music, which is a kind of, it's just a fancy word for music that doesn't have any kinds of lyrics or spoken word or anything like that. So what we typically think of now is classical music. And they really liked it because it could evoke emotion without any kinds of mention to person, place, or thing. It speaks to us on like a fundamental level. So that's kind of part of what started the whole abstract expressionism movement. And it was really just trying to get that idea of purity without making mention to person, place, or thing onto a canvas. So Wassily Kandinsky is one of the artists, and he attributed all of the inspiration for his artwork to music. He would listen to a piece of music and then kind of internalize how he feels and then put it down on a canvas, which is actually the kind of approach that I'm taking for my work. And my project is inspired mostly by this time period of visual music in the early to mid 1900s, when visual music started creeping into things like avant-garde animation and film. And these are the big artists that were inspirations for me. And they, as you can see, they have a lot of the same kind of visual motifs that the Kandinsky painting and other abstract expressionist paintings had, but they moved around, which was the difference. So I just want to play a quick clip from a big influence for me in this work by Oscar Fischinger. And hopefully there's sound. Okay. Oh no. Get out of here. So a couple of things I just want to point out from this is he's using absolute music, of course, which is what we think of as classical music. This animation is all taking place in a static space, meaning that there's no film cuts or there's not the typical film language things that we see when we watch films. There's no spatial or temporal cuts. It's all kind of unfolding in front of the viewer, kind of like a performance, like ballet or theater, that kind of thing. And the last thing is that as these shapes kind of move and twirl around, they're amorphous, meaning they stretch out and squash down. And this is a quality that I really wanted to bring to my animation, although that proves to be very difficult in 3D animation. So I originally made this for a theater, like I said before, which is why I chose to go with pre-rendered 3D animation. Obviously, that's not ideal for VR because you can't move around in the space, but it actually gives you a lot of things that real-time animation struggles with, or real-time graphics struggle with, and that's really high resolution and realistic lighting and shading algorithms, which adds a lot to your sense of presence in the piece. And I used Houdini for the rendering. The piece of music I selected is called Ombre Lumineuse by Costin Mirianu. He's a French composer, and it's not what we typically think of as the kinds of music we're used to listening to. It's an avant-garde piece. It was made in the 80s, and it's broken up into these distinct movements, and each movement kind of has its own emotional feeling associated with it. And it's made up of soundscapes, which is not your typical melody and rhythm and that kind of thing. It's very arrhythmic. And it kind of builds up more of an atmosphere than it does, typical music. And that was an interesting challenge for me. It also has an emotional narrative, meaning it starts off kind of slow, and then it builds up tension, and then things kind of mellow out, and then it starts building up more and more, and eventually reaches a kind of musical climax, which was also very interesting. So the aesthetic design for this piece is mainly motivated, or the main motivation behind it is just to evoke the feelings that are elicited by the music. You just enhance them. It's not to take the music and kind of make my own thing. I'm really just interpreting the kinds of feelings that I'm feeling when I listen to the music and just putting them on video, like the visual music. And then, trying to get those morphological changes very, very simple forms, like that animation I showed you, and the abstract expressionists work, and non-representational, meaning no person, place, or thing. And lastly, the big thing I wanted to do was to create a synthetic space, and this is what I did for a theater. The way I went about it was I didn't want to do any kind of spatial cuts or temporal cuts or time cuts, anything like that. I just wanted the viewer to sit in front of it and let it unfold in front of him, like old visual music does. And static camera, no motion or anything like that. And even when you're in a theater and it's stereo 3D and nothing is moving, over a while you start to sense that it's actually in the space with you, which it was trying to invoke that kind of feeling, which is really what brought me to VR, which VR does this really, really well. So yeah, it had all the same objectives that I tried to accomplish in this theater, just did it a lot better. So one of the things one of the things I was really excited about when I brought this project to VR was that there's very little motion sickness, and I think the big reason is because there's no movement. That's obviously the big conflict is movement. The vestibular conflicts. But some of the other more subtle things that I think really help is that there's a lot of negative space in it, so there's a lot of blackness around you. It feels like you're in a very dark room, and I think that gives a little bit more leeway when things don't quite match up the way you expect them to, because you're not seeing how light should bounce around in a room because it's a dark room. So I think it just gives a little bit of a leeway when things go wrong. Shape from shading conflicts and motion parallax conflicts and that kind of thing. Yeah, so that's it. Back in this room back here. Come check it out. Thank you.
All right, give a big round of applause. Question time. Who's got them? Who's got a question? In the back, Steve.
I did. That's a great question. I actually used Chops, which you might know is how Houdini, you can analyze audio with Chops. So I brought this piece of music into Houdini, and I split up components of the music, like the different instruments, into frequency ranges. So I tried to extract the drums and separate that from the bass, kind of, and then use that to drive the animation procedurally in Houdini. And a lot of the geometry is built procedurally, which is how I achieved some of the squashing and stretching aspects of it, because there's like underlying systems that kind of form the forms, and when they stretch out, when it moves, the whole form itself stretches out. But yes, thank you.
Next question.
It's the same. Yeah, every time. It's all choreographed. It's very specifically choreographed. I used Houdini and procedural generation to give me the timing that I needed to sort of time everything out, and the data in order, because it's a very long animation. It's about 10 or 11 minutes long, and there's a lot of instrumentation in it. So I used Houdini to kind of make that less daunting. But everything is very handcrafted at the same time. So.
Okay, we've got time for 2 more quick questions. You had one. I noticed your hand was up a while ago.
Yeah, I think you just answered it, but do you see this ultimately as something that you could apply procedurally to just any music that's played, like modern visualizers, or is it something that's always going to need to be handcrafted? Well, people are definitely doing that already. But I actually prefer to make handcrafted, choreographed pieces of visual music, just because I think, typically when you tend to see things like Winamp or those kinds of visualizers, you get a sense of the system, but it doesn't quite match up with how you feel specifically about the music, and you kind of figure it out after a while. You're like, oh, okay, it's just figuring out when the drum beats are happening and just syncing to that. So I actually really like that kind of stuff, but what I yeah, the kinds of work that I like to focus on are more handmade, choreographed kinds of works.
All right, one more question. I'm going to let you pick it.
Oh, okay. Not all at once. Okay, go ahead. A lot of it is it's just trying to bring the same kind of feelings that I think visual art has to music. So some examples might be that there's a movement in my work that's very aggressive. It's very, there's like loud drums. It's kind of unsettling. And visually what I wanted to do to kind of enhance those feelings were to make forms that are very sharp, which is something that, obviously it feels more dangerous, it's more aggressive feeling. And they kind of explode as the drums happen. So it's kind of trying to interpret the sorts of feelings that I get and translating that to a visual form instead of audio. So,
all right,
thanks.
Another round of applause for Michael.
Thank you.